round scores, the average is typically 1 or 2 under par. Like your most common single round scores are your 70s, your 71.
Sergio has been like, I can't wait to leave this place. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Divots and Pivots, episode 31, as we come in to wrap up the playoffs here. We're at East Lake. We've made it, and we're going to break down what we got for you. And if you're wondering where Bud is, since I am sitting here alone, he is on his way. He'll be with us shortly. Life has gotten in the way this evening, but that is all right. That's what there's certain things in life that are more important than this, but that's okay. He will be joining us, but we will get us started off. And look, I'm going to start us off by actually, if you have tuned in and subscribed to our YouTube channel recently since last week's episode, you will know that we are doing a giveaway right now for a signed Xander Schauffele photo that we've posted on Twitter. And we have the winner of that giveaway tonight. And I'm going to pull that up right now. And the winner of our giveaway is Mr. Anthony from the Scoreboard Addicts show. So we're going to reach out to Anthony. We're going to get him over that Xander Schauffele photo. Hope he's listening. And if you're listening, we will have more giveaways coming up. So please subscribe. That's what we're picking. That's where we're picking our winners from. So make sure to subscribe here to the YouTube channel, Divots and Pivots. Follow us on Twitter at Real Mr. Mallard, at Divots and Pivots, at This Buds For You, to keep up to date with any giveaways we're doing, any news of upcoming events that we're doing, and just a bunch of fun stuff. We're going to get on the course in this fall together, get you some fun content from that. We're also still waiting to hear back if we can get over to the Live Tour when it comes to Boston to see if we can cover that. So make sure you tune in. We got a lot of fun stuff that we're hoping to do for the rest of this golf season of the year for us. But anyways, tonight's episode, as I said, we're going to be breaking down East Lake. We're also, of course, going to spend a lot of the episode talking about the major news. We finally know what the players' meeting was last week with Tiger, Rory, Ricky, all that. So big news about the stadium events. We're going to talk about that once Bud gets on here. And we're going to break into any of the golf news that comes up. But look, let's dive into East Lake. Because East Lake is going to be interesting. The stats I'm using when it comes to picking my guys this week. Well, first of all, as Bud joins us right now, I did fall to Bud last week by a close 3 points. But look, we both scored over 400 again. We both did well as a whole. But yeah, Bud squeaked out the victory. And as I say, Bud squeaked out the victory. Here he is. Welcome in Bud Copeland, everyone.
It was 2.5 points. I appreciate you giving me that extra half point. I kind of need that for the ego. By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're not and you're listening, then go to YouTube later on today and subscribe to the Divots and Pivots show. Then you just saw Mr. Andrew LeDuc take a big old gulp of something red and not grape juice. And that's where I'm heading because I apologize for my tardiness. Those of you who know me know that I have a pliable relationship with time. Deadlines I'll hit. I'll get you a written document on time no matter what. But I'm going to be late for a meeting. That's going to happen. And tonight it was a casualty of the meet the teacher night, especially at a daycare for 2-year-olds.
Yes.
I mean, how much could we really be talking about? But then I walked in.
You'd be surprised.
And my daughter's best friend. My daughter's best friend was playing with a John Deere truck on the ground, and so I was the last person. They're like, "All right, Cooper's dad, we got to get out of here." But no, it's sorry for running a little late. Happy to be here. Right. Stoked, pumped. Episode 30-something of Divots
31,
and Pivots.
31.
We're back in the ATL. Hot shit happens in Atlanta, and champions are crowned at East Lake. I can't freaking wait. I know. I don't know what I missed at the top. I know we're going to talk about.
So far, all you've missed is that we awarded.
You were telling everybody I was going to be late.
Well, yeah, I did that. And then we also awarded Anthony from Scoreboard Addicts the signed Xander Schauffele photo. So I've already reached out to him, and hey, big congratulations for him. He and his wife just welcomed in their latest child to the family. So big congrats. This is perfect timing for him to win this giveaway. So super pumped that it gets to go to Anthony.
Congrats to Anthony. Sorry to my buddy Dave. I was just on the North Shore at Meet the Teacher night, and he's like, dude, subscribed. He's like, let me know. I was like, tune in. So
well, look, apologies. So this is also what I figured out and going to pick the winner for this. Look, so if you subscribe and you want to be have a chance to win the giveaway, you need to set your subscriptions to public and not private, because when we go to look at our subscribers to pick the giveaway, we can only see subscribers who make their subscriptions public. If you have your subscription set to private, we can't see that you're subscribed. So you may be you may be part of our numbers, but I can't see your name to pick you as one of the giveaway winners. So make sure to set it as public so that we can see you and you have a legitimate chance at winning.
So no matter what, when you're done here or right now while you're listening, go ahead and just check your subscription. Make sure they're public so you can get in on the next one. But X is going to give it to you, Anthony. And it's going to look beautiful on the wall.
Yeah, and if you want to give us, let me grab something real fast, bud, here.
You go grab something. So listen, as Andrew was pointing out, I was running a little late today, and actually half of it was from excitement. I've been late all day looking at East Lake Country Club, looking at the home of Bobby Jones, looking at the end of the FedEx Cup playoffs, looking at the culmination of 11 months of grind. People forget this season started last fall. We started pre-live. We started post-COVID, depending where you are. You might still be in COVID. We started in so much in the world has changed since then. And even up until a couple hours ago when raise your hand if you knew about Tomorrow Sports before 48 hours ago. Nobody did. Mm-hmm. I mean, things are happening every day. We're looking forward to the off season because there's gonna be a lot of fun to kind of bounce off of the college football and NFL football seasons. And especially with a handful of more live events coming up. We still have some golf to pay attention to, and not, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the President's Cup, which is going to take some shaking up here when Cam Smith and who else jumps after the tour finals. I think it's going to take on an even bigger flair, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the beginning of the show and let's get back to East Lake. Let's take care of business up front because there's plenty of gossip to chew on afterwards.
And real fast, if you want to.
Oh, it's pretty.
This one's Keegan. We got to sign Keegan.
I might have to get in on this. Am I allowed to subscribe? Well, I am subscribed to our own show. Let's come on. It's like you don't trust a chef that doesn't eat their own food.
Which is funny. You are subscribed, but you must be set to private or something.
It's private. It's private.
Because I didn't see you.
Damn. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it to public and so I can enter for the Keegs poster because Keegs big up here in New England. I've had a love affair, on and off love affair.
I'm tempted to keep it myself. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, let's get into it because, like we said before the show, it's a big week and it's even the play alone. I mean, quick pause because I got to segment my brain. I've been going a mile a minute for almost 40 years now. And so I've been detoured by all the stories of Bobby Jones, all the stories of East Lake, all of, I almost cried earlier rewatching the Tiger 2018 walk up with Rory.
Oh yeah.
And you got to kind of think after that moment, you see that star power on one screen. Is that when they were saying I doubt it was in the moment, but after that, all of a sudden with the announcement. So we got to draw a hard line and focus on business real quick. East Lake Country Club is a familiar friend. 7,300 yards, par 70, nothing too, if you keep the ball in play, you got a chance to score. I mean, last year, the scoring average was 68.62. So, these guys are going to go low. I say lean on form and lean on putting. Everything else is out the window this week. We're down to 29, maybe 28 once Cam Smith walks away. No, he's going to stick around. He actually might sneak up into my Piper Gold 3 later. But the key to East Lake is basically who's rolling the rock. Because with only 30 guys in the field, essentially 4 days, whoever's putting the best is going to win because the cream we're at the top. This is where the cream lives, and they're going to be throwing darts. And so whoever's rolling the rock, and right now it's Patrick Cantlay again, but Cam Smith is there. So what else do we need to know about East Lake? Nothing really, other than it's a scoreable course, and the 18th provides great theater for some finishing drama.
Well, you mentioned it because you mentioned keep it in play and you should be okay. And you don't have to be a long driver here, but you need to be accurate. So one of my key stats this week is actually going to be strokes gained off the tee because I want the guys to keep it in play, like you said. And obviously strokes gained putting was there for me as well. It's been there the whole playoffs because it's such a true test of form along with strokes gained approach. And then I threw in opportunities gained because this is going to be one of those where you got to be in position. You got to, if you're successful at attacking and putting yourself in position, that's how you're going to win this. So opportunities gained is a big, important one for me as well, which is a bummer because Will Zalatoris, who withdrew this week, because of his, I guess, his tweaked injury there. He was going to be lining up awfully great in these stats. And it's a shame that we don't get to see Zalatoris finish off the year here.
And I like what you said. I mean, tweaked, they came out 2 herniated discs. And we're talking.
He described it as tweaked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these guys are all tougher than they, than they would want to let on, or inverse of that. But I already saw some armchair quarterbacks / doctors on Twitter talking about, you come in with that kind of swing angle, eventually your back's going to give. And okay. So my first, well, it is true. You look at him, and nobody said it better than Butch Harmon. He's a 1-iron without the grip. I mean, the guy is this big, and he hit. So when you are that big, you have to put all the pieces in the right order, and then you have to maximize it all. And it is a lot of torque, and it is a lot of leverage.
Sure.
He's not muscling it out there like Brooks.
The same way, why Chris Sale's always getting hurt for the Sox and baseball, because he's a twig, and he throws at a funky arm angle. He throws coming in sideways, so his whole body is it's so susceptible to injury.
Think about this real quick. You talk about the body and what pitchers do to their bodies in the course of a game or even a season. Pitchers pitch every 4 or 5 days, because your body is not meant. We don't walk through the world going like this. Although I wish we did, and somebody should catch this. Look at those arm flaps.
Oh, it'll be
cool. That's not natural. But this right here, the underarm motion, we walk like this. So that's why you can see somebody like Jenny Finch. I used to have a real crush on Jenny Finch, the USA softball player. She, but that's why they can pitch 50, 60, 70 innings straight, because I'm not saying it's quote unquote easier.
No, but it's more natural.
The physiology is there to do this motion.
I don't know if you've ever tried to pitch a softball at your full strength.
It's the most ridiculous feeling.
It's very hard to control, so definitely not easy.
So that said, we sure as shit weren't meant to swing a golf club. And so when you're Will Zalatoris' size, I would not be shocked to see if he goes through quick pause. 1997, Tiger comes on, wins Augusta, goes nuts. 20 some odd years later, Butch Harmon comes out and tells a little more detail in, because if you were alive and you remember, he broke down his swing. I mean, he won the 97 Masters, and then all of a sudden he just kind of went on this hiatus for 18 months. Turns out he knew then, my body cannot maintain this swing for the next 40 years, or 30 years or whatever the hell it is. Maybe this is it. And guys you see it in football where they're retiring earlier. They're looking at their body a little bit better. You sure as heck saw it in golf after Tiger, with the working out and the nutrition and the explosion of that, the physiology behind the golf swing. I mean, somebody might say to him, yes, I guarantee you there's already been a doctor that's looked at this and told him, you can either continue your swing as is, or you need to change it. Or they said you can continue it and you'll recover. I don't know if he's hurt or not, but my point is, it's not just like a sprained ankle where go rest it. These herniated discs, there's so many moving parts back there, and a kid his size, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to watch. I wish him well, because if you've been paying attention the last few weeks, I'm all in on some Willie Z. I think he's
a bright spot for the future of the sport.
Speaking of,
we're gonna get there. I
almost did it. And that's why I told you earlier. I was
like, top of the show. I was
like, we got to get through the picks, or at least our Piper Gold 3, because it. And I do like this. I like that we've come to a consensus where, I am obviously just the more talented fantasy golf performer.
Yes, obviously.
But I also cheat, and I use your analysis to do it. So this has turned into a nice little partnership.
You somehow beat me.
It will, trust me, it'll change. It won't be. I did miss out on my other league's playoffs. Justin Thomas, quick aside, I was sitting, so the top 8 get to go on to East Lake. Now, everybody people are thinking, why would you even want to do the fantasy league? Because everybody still competes, but the season-long pot is, I'm out. I was sitting 5th. I thought I was secured. I thought I was solid. And I was like, all right, here we go. We're going to take some Cam Young.
Yep.
We're going to take some Thigala. And we're going to, who's hungry. And look what he did. He's even a dark horse. People are saying, watch out for him. He's on that trajectory. And he's nipped at a couple of wins this year. And then I took JJ Spawn, somebody who I thought, he's the 4th pick. He's not my anchor. If he shits the bed, no big deal, because there's no way in hell that Justin Thomas is going to shit the bed at some country club in Delaware. Justin Thomas was over par, and at one point I think went 30 holes without a birdie.
Yeah, he struggled. That was bad. And we
I
both played him this past week. We both did.
I know, and as much as I love beating you, I really wanted to go after the trophy for my other league.
Yeah.
It's called the Woo, and I don't
Okay.
even I can't. There's some. It's like one of those leagues where there's been probably 2 or 3 years now. There's some running inside joke that I kind of missed a couple
Mm-hmm.
years ago, but that's okay. Just on the Woo, I don't know where the Woo came from, but it's pretty effing funny. There's a special award. There is a special award. We set aside a certain amount of dollars. I think it's $6.90
Okay.
at the beginning of the year. That if your player shoots 69 in all 4 rounds, you get a bonus that week.
Oh,
So I mean,
nice. I like
there's some
that.
fun there's some fun side bets in my quote unquote other league, but
Yeah, you gotta have that. That's
sh-
fun.
shouts to them in the other league. The final week's going
Yeah.
to be fun to watch. The chatter's usually good, and the person sitting on top, their team name is Come and Get It, and I always kind of like that. Because they have such a lead right now that I don't think anybody's going to overcome it unless you are tuning into Divots and Pivots and you catch the Piper Gold 3 and you anchor your lineup with these 3 guys. So
here we are then.
I want to hear. I want to hear your model after I go through mine because mine's always quicker. I went putting. I went into Fantasy National. I select all the guys because let's be honest, it's a small field, so you don't need to splice hairs. But all I did was I went straight up. I sorted the putting because here's my theory. You made it this far. Your form is there. If you're not, like, I'm not just going to go blindly 1 to 6 because I already tried it. The math doesn't work. So I got some tweaking to do. I got some tweaking to do on my theory. But as we talked about earlier, I mean, when it's crunch time, whether it's a major, whether it's FedEx Cup, whether it's a U.S. amateur, like I don't know if you caught any of that. That was some great golf last weekend. Sam Bennett, Texas A&M. Dad died in the last couple of years. He's got a tattoo on his arm. I mean, talk about waterworks. And him and his playing partner lost his father in the last few years. And his quotation going in says, hopefully our dads are upstairs watching together. Like, I mean, it was just waterworks all over the place, but they were rolling the rock. And so if you're rolling the rock this week, like Patrick Cantlay, or Cam Smith, then you're going to win. That said, hot putters can jump up anywhere. Look for a dark horse. Maybe a Sepp Straka is a popular name because of how close he came a couple weeks ago and that he's not exactly in bad form. Also, former Bulldog. So he's played East Lake before. He's a Georgia guy. I mean, he's from overseas.
Call, right? It's a good call out right there.
Right. He's Eastern European, I think, by birth, but he's a Georgia Bulldog, which means those guys definitely went over to East Lake a handful of times. They know it well. So I'd say look for a Sepp Straka to kind of come out of nowhere. Also look for Sadith Igala to kind of come out of nowhere. That's the bottom end of my kind of pool of, I'm not going to say no names, but I'm definitely going to say more dark horse ideas. But on the top end, again, you sort them by putting and you see it. Cam Smith's up there. Patrick Cantlay's in that top 10. But the math kind of works out if you do sort it by those putting because you got Sam Burns, JT Poston, Cam Smith, Billy Horschel, Max Homa, Patrick Cantlay, and Sepp Straka. Yep. And then if you go down a few more, Hovland, Finau, Schauffele. So really, it's showing that the people who've been performing for the most part are the ones who have been putting for the most part. So that's my song and dance on East Lake 2022. Back to you in the studio.
No, I like it. And look, I'm right there with you for putting. Like I said, another one I'm looking at this week is definitely off the tee. I want guys who are going to put it in play. So the 3 guys that I fall to is I'm going to Corey Connors this week. I know he's low. He's towards the back in putting, but he's been playing well. He's top 10 in all of my other key stats. So I'll take a shot at him at 8,000. I'm also going right back to the well with JT Poston because he's number 1 in putting. And he's number 7 in par 4s 400 or 450, which is the majority of the par 4s on this course. And then, so I'm torn between going to Tony Finau back to the well, even though he struggled this past week. I'm torn between going to him or Sung J M because both of them are top 5 off the tee and they're tied for second in putting. I don't think you go wrong with either one. I'm going to try to get both of them in my lineup. I think it's possible at that price, considering JT Poston is only 5,100. I think it's possible.
It's absolutely possible because, again, if you want to get creative with your lineup this week, you can. Because you can go, in any other week, we would call it studs and duds. There are no duds in this field. I mean, what your top 30 players on tour, and in my argument, I'd say top 30 players in the world. There's a fun one. And let's take the top 30 from Live, top 30 from DP World Tour, top 30 from the PGA Tour. There is your 3-way challenge. Let's go. Bring the boys from the Sunshine Tour down in South Africa. Bring the Asian Tour. Bring anybody you want, but start sending tours and sending your best like that kind of way, and then start making it a relegation model. But anyways, I digress. We've got the top 28, top 30. So you really aren't getting any duds. I mean, when I sorted it by putting, and then I see somebody like Billy Horschel at 6,900, that Billy Horschel at 6,900 is a juicy play because Billy Horschel has won this before. Billy Horschel has that little strokes gained home life right now. He is one of those people out there chomping hard at the bit, pun intended, because he's a gator, to get after it, to prove that this is where champions play. This is where excellence plays. And I think that's what we're going to start to see as we get into the Live versus PGA talk later, is these differentiators that are going to be the game changers in the end, and end up settling who goes where and how they coexist. But back to what we were talking about. You're right. If you can put the ball in play and you can roll the rock, then all bets are off, because I think at this point in the season, you're splicing hairs when you start asking yourself who's got better par 5 efficiency, who's got better par 4 efficiency. I'll say this. So if you're looking for a third to round that out, we usually lean on strokes gained approach, because that is a good holistic, when all else fails and you can't grab anything, grab strokes gained approach. That's a great barometer for how somebody's playing. But right now we got our two: off the tee, putting, go to ball striking. They're on Georgia. They're on that Bermuda/Georgia. And when I grew up down there, I thought it was just some redneck like slurring his Georgia. No, it's with a Z. It's Georgia, I guess, or Georgia. It is. It's basically, if you've never played on it, it's almost better than grass. I mean, it's almost like it's like artificial turf where it just gets teed up on a tee, but then you can take a divot. So ball strikers and putters, man. And then, as Andrew said, if you can put it in play, obviously you made it this far, so you can hit the ball and you can roll the rock. So, and if anybody's listening, then what do I do? What do I do? Welcome to East Lake. Welcome to East Lake. It's true. It's kind of like, once you get to the Super Bowl, sure, stats are stats, but you got to kind of throw everything out. This is where the cliche, what is it? What's the old cliche? They throw out the record books when these two get together.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I like you indulged me on that, but that is what we're doing here. You almost have to throw out the record books, but then you have to bring them back in to kind of to sift through it all. Dark horse, if you really had to put a truth gun to my head, and who's going to win this week? Xander Schauffele.
Okay, so I'm glad you actually brought him up, because he was popping in my model as well, and I was trying to find a way to afford him. And look, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna post one lineup to go against you to keep it fair, and everyone will know what that one lineup is. But I am gonna play 20 lineups this week, because I want to try to maximize my profit this week. And but I will just play the one against you and not just cherry pick my best lineup to say that I beat you.
Please do. You could have been playing 50 lineups all this week. All I care is what Mr. Duck. Listen, the only lineup I give a rat's rear about is whoever Mr. Ducky sends into DraftKings to do battle. That's all I care about. And so, do your thing, man.
But I will be getting me some Xander Schauffele, because I do like him this week as well. I'm glad you brought him up.
I mean, and if you're Mr. Eckert, then bet the house on X. X is going to give it to you this week, and Sepp Straka is going to be your dark horse. So,
and there's going to be some good juju with us giving out a Xander signed photo this week, right? Like, there's got to be some good juju with that. And
at the end of it all, you know what's going to end up happening?
No. Well, I'm going to lose. I always lose, but
no. Au contraire, dude. Like I honestly, the first couple of weeks you were handing it to me pretty good. I just got on a hot streak. It's not going to always be that way.
You did, yeah.
I might have gotten into your dome too.
I cooled off real fast after the Masters. I had my peak this season was the Masters, and then I cooled off.
We'll have our season in review later, but I've got a theory behind why you cooled off. But what's going to happen is the mullet man is going to win this week. He's going to drop 30 footers all over everybody. And then he's going to smile, deflect all the questions, sheepishly walk out with his $20 million in trophy. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to see him at a press conference, with another $120 million. And
I'm going to, hey, and speaking of, do you see who signed a name from the past who signed with Liv for 4 years and like 60 million or something like that?
Who?
Anthony Kim.
No.
Anthony Kim signed with. Hold on. Let me double check that. But I'm pretty sure I saw that.
If this is one of those moments in news, right? If true, this could be Anthony Kim one. I'm not seeing any. Come on, Anthony. Don't be spreading lies. We can't get flagged for disinformation here.
It was.
Is it Anthony Kim to make a shocker? No. Okay, Anthony Kim to make shock return to Saudi golf. That was back in February.
No. I saw it on Twitter. So what the hell is it? Because I saw it on Twitter today.
Well, I mean, Jesus, if it's on Twitter.
No. It was from I want to say it was Liv's account that tweeted it.
Almost 1 week ago. Anthony Quayle, no.
PGA Tour broke the news 9 hours ago. Anthony Kim joins Liv for a 4-year deal estimated to be worth $65 million. In a statement, he said, "I've just been waiting for the right opportunity to pursue golf again. The timing was perfect."
This is huge. He has one of those weird cult followings because he just disappeared. I mean,
he was supposed to be huge. When he hit the scene. I know he was huge, but because he disappeared, he was supposed to be bigger than he ended up being. You know what I mean?
So that's what I was getting at. He was almost like I'm trying to think of a good analogy from another sport where somebody shows up for a year. Mo Norman is the closest kind of like golf, not as pure and beautiful. Mm-hmm. I get not beautiful. Mo Norman's like missing teeth and he was Canadian, kind of homely looking, but homely is a good word. But yeah, no, he was almost that mysterious. If you Google what happened to Anthony Kim, where's Anthony Kim? Bobby Fischer, the chess guy. That's who I was trying to go for. It's almost like, what happened? Where did he go? This makes so much sense though, because a guy like Anthony Kim who wants to just play golf, and he probably is playing golf wherever he wants to play golf for $20 a Nassau, $100 a hole, whatever. And to him, it's like, okay, I'm playing golf. All he wants to do is up the stakes, up the ante, but he doesn't necessarily want to up the pressure. This type of
setup makes sense for someone who's looking to make a return to professional golf. It makes perfect sense.
All right, now we're into it. Thank you. We've turned the page. First and foremost, actually, I say first and foremost, 30 minutes in. But thank you as always to Piper Golf, In the Clutch, Fantasy National, and Belly Up for letting me crash the party every week.
Yes.
But seriously, so much thanks to you all for taking a chance on a couple of knuckleheads talking about fantasy golf. And if you go,
it's a hell of a chance.
It's a hell of, and it's going to pay off. The ROI is huge. You just got to play the long game. Go to Piper Golf. Go to In the Clutch. Use your promo code DIVPIV. That's Div. Get your 10% off. Tell them Bud sent you. This is one of those we talked about earlier. Okay, so Kim. By the way, God, that just absolutely shook me to my core. Because how did I not see?
For once, I broke news to you. I'm usually you're the one breaking it.
I know, and if anybody, and for those listening, I have this wry little shit-eating grin, it's not showing up on the Google yet. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This is just all right. So I had a huge crush on Anthony Kim. He was a Nike player. I a Nike golf guy, big belt buckles, and could just freaking move the ball like nobody's business. He choked down on the club a little bit, which was kind of unique. You see Tommy Fleetwood do that. You see Sergio do that. And he had this kind of edge to him, and he was also just stupidly talented. And so all you hear now are these legendary stories of, oh yeah, I was out at blah, blah, blah country club, and there was Kim working on his game on the range. He played 9 holes with us, didn't keep his scorecard, but somebody else did. It looks like he shot 30. And it's like, what? It's like he didn't, he was, and it's cool because maybe he was just out there working on his game and saying, waiting for, like you said, waiting for the right opportunity. So here we go. Yes. Anthony Kim is the type of golfer who this draws to him. And you used the word. You said, and I actually pat on my back. I was on Scoreboard Addicts last week. Thank you so much. Shouts to Rook and the gang for having me on, TJ. That was so much fun.
And we are going to be on again.
That'd be dope. We will be good. I'm glad I didn't burn a bridge. So, but I mentioned something on there about how challenge makes champions. So my question to you is it just that money makes you a professional? Because no matter what, and this is why I love that Tiger and Rory came out with tomorrow, or let me rephrase that, announced tomorrow. Mm-hmm. This was not reactionary. And yes, all of this stuff happens behind the scenes for months and years at a time, just like how Phil said to Alan Shipnuck in the book. Yeah, the PGA Tour is sitting on all this effing money. What do they do? Well, you stupid moron. If you could have kept, pardon me, Phil, I don't know him personally, but maybe if you could have kept your mouth shut, or maybe if you would have done it in the right way, or I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe you would have been a phone call and in on this. Maybe that's what this money was for. And
they've been talking about it for 2 years, they say.
Yeah, something big coming, coming. And so what I like about it too is not just that they're changing things up and say, we're going to have this kind of, again, Boudreaux, here's Boudreaux, here's the pulse. I was on it. They're going to have some sort of super secret ultras mini series within.
Yeah.
But what's extra? What's their equity? This whole model is going to change because the Tomorrow Sports is talking about their stadium series, this new like challenge series that has the blessing of Jay Moynihan, because they said, we want to do it in conjunction with you and not compete and we want to offer something to your players that they're not getting there, that you can't give them, that that's
the key, to offer equity to the players in these specific tournaments and a way to invest and to get something back out of it. To like, that's huge. That's ownership. That's it. That's when your company offers you shares as part of your raise or something like that. And you just the goal of that is to keep you around. The goal of that is to invest you personally into the well-being of the company. It makes perfect sense.
And so doing that, also, you're building a foundation for stability. Nobody's going to take the money and run because you own a piece of the pie, right? So after this first gen, and that's what that meeting with Tiger, I guarantee you, was with those 20 guys and Ricky.
Ricky.
No,
well, that's exactly what it was. We now know what was happening in that room,
right? And so when they say equity, they say, all right, if we can build this, because those guys over in Saudi Arabia. In this, well, actually, I hate saying that they're not over in Saudi Arabia, and we can stop calling it the damn Saudi league. So the guys that live, some of them do have an equity stake built into their contract. That's dope. Yep. That's cool. They're going to stick around. But what about the young? But what about the young talent? I don't know how the compensation works over there. Maybe there is a giant chunk set aside for these little, but like the young talent over there, if they're just getting a little bit of money and then they're elbowed out by all these big names who get the long-term contracts for these teams. It is a different model. They will have to come home, and here it is, lean and hungry, clawing to the top. And maybe it's a tiny slice of the pie. Who knows what the pie looks like? Who knows who knows who's even owning the pie in a couple of years?
Yeah.
But they are going to start, offering up parts of that, because if I'm Sam Burns, who shouts to Sammy Burns, it looks like Sammy Mustache. Did he just get Sam Burns, Arnold Palmer rookie? I think he just got rookie of the year. Like, and when I say
it wouldn't shock me if he did. I didn't see if he did, but that wouldn't shock me.
I'm pretty sure. I just saw him, and I think Billy Andrade or Billy Horschel, I don't know who it was. They're doing it's Eastlake, so they're doing their awards. This is like the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. They're doing the Payne Stewart Man of the Year, and I should know better. But what I was saying is, those young guys, they spend their first 10 years, they get a win or two under their belt. Well, wait a minute, I have ownership in this $1 billion entity over there. I don't need to go jump ship for a 10-year or a 3-year ride. And maybe it is a cool now. At the very end of it all, though, we said this at the beginning, and Rory said it, and God, I love how prescient it was. They're offering people with money
more money. Yep. I love the way it was so simple and so true, though.
And in this, and so not even the equity piece, because they can even say, I can even argue, if I'm a live person, I'm saying, yeah, we offer equity too. Great. Yeah. Who are now here's the question. Here is it. This is the crux. This is why the tour ultimately, and it's not the tour, it's Tiger, but why the tour will ultimately win. Because at the end of the day, when they say big money, check, limited fields, check, no cut, check. All right. All down the end, equity, check. Okay. Let me ask you a question. I have equity in a company. My business partners are Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods. Who are your business partners?
Exactly. Instead, any business model, when you sit at the table to pitch to investors, and if you sat down at the table and said, "Oh yeah, look, we have investors, Chase Koepka and Hudson, and this is nothing against them, but it's just a comparison. Hudson Swafford, Chase Koepka, like these guys, and then you go, well, the other company. You sit down next to a company that says, "Oh, our investors are Tiger Woods, Rory Mac." Like that's what you're getting at here is that there's a certain legitimacy that comes along with the people that invest into a product. And look, the PGA, now that they're offering equity to players in these specific events, they already have the sponsorship and the sponsorships and the long lasting relationships with products and other brands, and they have the deals in place, the TV deals. Now that the players, so it's going to be more juicy to the players to invest in that because that's safer and it has a higher ceiling in the end on a long term scale.
And I was even steering away from the third rail, but I'm going to bring it back out. You said a couple of the names, and you were doing the apples to apples comparison.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go a step deeper. Dick Ebersol, NBC, JP McManus of JP McManus. Those are also the big name investors, as opposed to the Saudi Investment Fund and whoever is associated with that. So now we're talking about the social capital associated with your big name investors. And again, by the way, this isn't me morally grandstanding on anything. I'm trying to take just a 30,000 foot kind of armchair quarterback analytical view of who's going to come out on top and why. Because for a while, and I might be wrong. It hasn't happened yet, but I mean, it's a possibility. So, but when you look at it, there's a lot of people going, can't beat the money. You can't beat the money. You're thinking it's not money, it's value, it's worth, it's legacy. That's what we're talking about. So that's what I mean by the case of, okay, do I want to take a shot now? Again, because the guaranteed money is going to run out and live. They even said that it's not a handout. They're trying to build a competitive product.
Well, we now know they're earning it against what they've been promised, or you know what I mean? Like, so it's like
fake news.
Oh, is that fake? Was that
fake news?
Okay,
fake news.
My bad.
That's all right. No, that I dug into it too because I assumed the same thing, and I'm like, come on, when you're talking about that kind of money, I understand why you would do it. You tell me 20 million, and whether I win one tournament or two tournaments or 10 tournaments, I'm getting 20 million.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Twist my arm with a good, with a threat of 20 million. And there might be some elements of that, but no, I looked into it, and apparently that was like the lawyers had to come out and say, no, not true. Not that true. There might be, again, there might be something built in, but apparently no, the money apparently is deep and flowing over there at Live.
Okay.
But again, at the end of it all, what are you playing for? And when you talk about what's juicier, it's not just who are your current investors, who are your current partners, what's the current model, because the current PGA Tour model in the next 5 years is going to shift from nonprofit to for-profit. And what they're going to do is the PGA Tour entity itself will go to a for-profit model, but they will maintain whatever philanthropic endeavors they've had. They will make sure that stays apart because that's part of their brand. That's part of the package. And
that's part of what's going to keep them a step ahead of Live.
Well, I mean,
because now you mentioned it. Now that we're entering the business world, this is now morphing sports and business. The second you start talking about players having equity alongside of sponsorships and corporate partners and things like that, we're now entering the business world. And I'm sorry, but for some of these companies who will be investing alongside, moral compass is going to play into factor because there's enough of their audience that is going to, in the age of social media now, crush them if they do anything that is questionable with their investments. And companies will think of that when it comes to investing. So when now given the option to invest alongside the PGA, which has a long-standing charitable history, or the Live, I think investors are going to go back to stick with the PGA. And it's gonna but for now,
new people. Well, let me know. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Well, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah. And for now is the wrong phrase. What I meant to say was, nobody's going to move. New people will come in because Live does have Live to give, which I think is their biggest mistake, is not leading with Live to give. It
should be so much more on the forefront.
Oh my God. Like, they're coming to Boston. I'm in the nonprofit world in Boston in my future former 9-to-5. And they're going to end up giving $1 million to somebody locally, but who, why are we not seeing stories 2 weeks out in the Globe and the Herald and, in local press and Wicked Local?
Because all they're going to tell you in their ads is that we're louder, we're more fun. And like, that's what they're leading with.
And I'll give the Shark some credit. He is a savvy businessman, and he was very upfront that this year they're going to be a bust. They're going to lose. It's about the product.
Sure.
Maybe, and so I got to give him the benefit of the doubt that that's not lost. It's just priority number 2 or 3, because obviously priority number 1 is to get the product out there on the market somehow. That's the thing, though. They've got David Faraday. They've got a great product. It's just, I don't know what that product is or what the market for it is, because the market for the PGA Tour and the market for Live are not the same markets. Rook was saying Rook was saying the boys were out there at the Live event at Trump Bedminster, and it is, hairs down. You're chatting the players up, and because in the back of my mind, that's because they're not playing for anything. And to me, that would be fun. We've talked about this on the show before.
Yeah.
There are certain moments where it's like, you're damn right, I want to go, do the
It'd
back
be like
off
going
challenge
up there for a practice round.
Yeah, busting balls, saying what's up. That's fine. But then again, I don't want to go watch a couple of, college roommates play chess in Washington Square. I want to see the world's best chess champion against Washington Square's best hustler, and I want to see them going for $1 million. Like, I want to see that, and we're not going to get it with Live, because even when DJ and Bryson are going head to head, it's not for the US Open. It's not for FedEx Cup points. And no matter who makes or misses the putt, they've already shown their cards that they have other things on their mind, and it's not to judge them. But okay, you've decided to be businessmen and entrepreneurs and do that. You're growing the game. And I am using air quotes for anybody listening, because it will grow the game, but that's like, grow is a relative term. It's going to disrupt the game, but it's going to disrupt the game. It's going to disrupt the game the same way you're going to disrupt a pond if you throw a rock in it. Doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything.
It will settle eventually.
It'll settle eventually. And then where are you? And I think Live is going to be sinking to the bottom. And I do think you're going to see the tour floating on top. You're going to see, if they can clean up their act in the next 5 years, and I say clean up their act and do some PR work, because I'm such a PR professional. No, but I mean, definitely get more of the everyday people just kind of on board with the idea of Live and watching it. You got to get people to tune in on TV, and that's where they're going to fall short. They're not playing. Well,
here's where I think I have an interesting thought on this, is that Live is kind of, the way I see Live is that they are the way their excitement is that they are always going to be riding a plateau of the same level of excitement. There's no event that is going to peak them out at a high, and there's no valleys that are like a solid floor. Like, that's what the PGA offers. The PGA offers, your random events that are like a solid floor where your true golf fans are always going to be watching. But then their peaks are worldwide peaks, the Masters, the US Opens, like all the major events. Like, they are such a high peak that they blow anything else out of the water when it comes to golf. And the fact that the Live kind of sits at the same level of a plateau of like excitement across all of their events, that to me would get old. Like, we're only how many events in for them? That to me would get old. Take your time, say goodnight, whatever. I can carry on by myself if needed.
No, I did. She's beautiful.
Okay. But that, like, to me that would get old. Like, sure, like you mentioned, like, you go out there, you watch a practice round, you joke, you're talking to the players, you're chilling with them, and it's fun. But if I was doing that, 2 rounds every week, like, that would get old to me. That would get boring, because there's no peak of excitement in any sporting event. You're there for the potential of a peak of excitement, and I just feel like Live doesn't offer that peak. It's all the same.
No, it does. It doesn't, because it also doesn't send 60% of the competitors home empty-handed every week. Well,
exactly.
I've talked about this before. My whole idea of why did people show up to the Roman Coliseum? It wasn't to see the person win. It was to see the person die. And that's why we like it. The stakes are a little bit higher. And to kind of not to rain on your parade there, but I'm actually going to piggyback on you and kind of correct, but agree at the same time. They're not even riding a plateau. Live viewership is consistently gone down each week on their streaming numbers.
I'm not surprised
because the novelty is wearing off, like you said. Again, the Shark, they knew this was going to happen. They knew that they had to get things out there first. We'll see if people come back. But what are people coming back to? What are you? You kind of showed your cards And I don't, what more money? We've already seen that there is a ceiling, and I think it's a six figure ceiling. But we've
It's
seen
still a ceiling.
we've seen the limits on the money side. There's prestige. You can't create prestige just because a couple dozen individuals. This is what I love about it too. Anybody out there, because I mean, come on, sports media is built on a binary basis of hot takes and where do you stand on this. And so I'll tell you where I stand on this. Live is not going to die, but neither is the PGA Tour. And so anybody out there thinking that Greg Norman's going to come in with a Saudi checkbook and bully his way through 100 years of history and tradition, it's just not going to happen. In the end, people want to play on President's Cups. People want to play on Ryder Cups. There are people who think in their mind, I have a more realistic chance of earning a Ryder Cup spot than getting one of those. Actually, they don't even want one of the 48 spots on the Live, because if I get that Ryder Cup spot, I can create my own path to possibly being the next Tiger, the next DJ. The beautiful thing about excellence is they are all the greater fool. They all believe that they have the long shot, and it's Pearson Cootie is the best one out there. Korn Ferry, Cootie family, Texas Longhorn. And he said it. They offered me an ungodly amount of money. He doesn't have that money, and that money's not guaranteed to him. But he doesn't care. He's like, I like my shots over here because the payoff is better. So while I applaud the Live,
you might get it all them. Yeah. Well, so what's going to be interesting is how they continue to build from here, how they pivot each time. They need to pivot in order to stay relevant. That's what's going to be interesting. Because so here's an analogy I just thought of right now. We'll see if it makes sense. We're gonna figure it out live on air if it makes sense. Okay.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Super Bowl I. People care much more now about the result of Super Bowl I than they did during Super Bowl I. That's where the PGA is. PGA has built up, as you said, they built up the prestige over time, over building, over changing with the times, over adapting slowly, but yet
over
still
splitting once,
yet still holding on to their history and their ritualistic moments within the game, yet still kind of pivoting to offer some newer feels to a more modern audience, like with your like at TPC Scottsdale for the waste management, like to allow like the stadium feel on that par 3, like so they've made subtle adjustments along the way, but they've been able to do it so precisely where they keep all of their audience. They keep the old audience because they don't make them feel like they're getting pushed out for the modern, yet they bring in the new audience by slowly offering and adapting to times. The Live is still new, and being new is fine. There's nothing wrong with being new, but it is about how you continue to change as the punches get thrown at you. And sure, they as you said, they're now kind of downward on their viewership at the start here. How are they going to react to that coming out of their first season? How are they going to adapt to bring in those people they lost after the first couple events, and how are they going to build off of that? That's what I want to see now. That's why the XFL has failed multiple times. That's why the AFL has failed. Like, that's why all these leagues that have tried to take on the NFL have failed, because they come in too hot. They throw all of their pieces on the table right away, and then they got nothing to build with. Let's see what the Live does from here.
I'll cede you. I'll cede you that analogy. I was trying to look for a good comparable comeback because the first Super Bowl was the AFL and the NFL, and there was no there wasn't an established thing that they were going against. And so I guess we are groundbreaking in that sense of let's see what happens, because you're right. XFL died, USFL died.
I will say the XFL does keep trying to come back. They are coming back again.
Well, as long as there is a sport and as long as there is money, there will be competition. It's not always going to be consistent. It's not always going to be good, and that's what we're seeing with Live. And if the money doesn't run out, but I keep going back to what's the X factor, because if the money doesn't run out, then Live is not going to die, and that's fine. It's just who gives a Henrik Stenson lost the Ryder Cup captaincy, but damn, he won that first Live event he played in. Talk to me in 25 years.
Yeah.
I hate being preachy about it, but I genuinely do think that that's a dumb, it's kind of I'm not these gentlemen. I can't empathize with them on their level, but I can just say, I can try to say, like, I think that was stupid. I hope it was worth the $4 million, because you ask some of those winning and losing Ryder Cup captains, was it, ask what's his face, who just got his ass handed to him at Whistling Straits. Who just lost? Was it Patty Harrington? He was the last captain, right? Patrick Harrington. Ask him. I think it was.
I think so.
I think so. Ask him. Would you give that up for $4 million? And he'd probably say no, absolutely not. I'd go through it again, knowing I'm going to lose by 10.
Those losses and those wins stick with those guys.
But it just means more than the money. So
Yes.
What I love is now it's starting to spider out. You ready for a little piece of, not gossip? It was just something that I saw in the Twitter sphere that I guess, Ian Poulter, Mr. I'm going to go do my thing. And then, please DP, can I have some more? And then, no. Okay. Which I do appreciate his initial approach, which was diplomatic. And then he started talking like he dresses.
Yeah.
He is getting Siri thought I was talking to her. He's getting the stiff arm from DP World Tour on getting access to some of his recent highlights.
Oh, really? To his highlights?
Apparently. Well, and that goes back to
what a power move by DP, huh?
Well, listen, I mean, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But when Phil was talking about it, it's not just the money. This is what I said earlier. Phil went about it the wrong way. Tiger said the exact same thing. And this is what Tiger was alluding to 6-7 months ago when he said, listen, the PGA Tour is a lot of wonderful things, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. However, a lot has changed. And we do have to re-examine how we do certain business things with the players. And this is what he was talking about: players' rights and access to their own, digital likeness. Like all of these little things are going to come into play. And that's where like the LIV is probably going to go. The LIV is probably just going to be like, yeah, you can have whatever you want. That's because you don't have to fight with NBC, CBS. You don't have a media contract. So YouTube's not going to tell you that you can't have it because they want you to have it. I mean,
because they don't have anything live right now, and this is their chance into the game.
So to DP World Tour, here's to you for sticking it to the visor boy,
and to our winner of the Xander photo, Anthony here. You can see in our comments here, Liv's X Factor is Cleeks, bro.
Cleeks.
So love to hear from Anthony here. Congratulations again, Anthony, both on the picture. And of course the birth of your newborn. So congratulations.
Now, one thing I want to circle.
It's funny because Anthony made a joke. He was joking, but he said he was going to name his daughter Xandrix because he won the photo. So, but he was just joking.
Hey, a bet's a bet, dude. A bet's a bet. A Lannister always pays his debts. Are you a Game of Throner?
No, I've never watched it. So it's not because I don't think I would like it. It's because it went so long before I even had the chance to watch it and then everybody was talking about it so much. It was one of those where like I can't watch it until like years down the road now. Because everyone's talking about it. You know what I mean? And I'm so far behind. I'm not going to just start it now.
Well, you're not far behind. I mean, you completely missed it. The shit's been over for years. But I will say this. I watched the first episode of House of the Dragon last night with my little brother.
Like a spin-off of it or something?
So no, it's not a spin-off. It's basically, and they do a really good job in the first 5 minutes of kind of saying this is 175 years before the events of Game of Thrones. They basically kind of tell you.
Oh, geez.
They do so they do a really good job of kind of, it is a prequel. It's a prequel series. But no, it's really dope. I think, I mean, like you would enjoy it. You are right. Game of Thrones originally takes a while to get into. It takes a handful of episodes. That's the cliche, and cliches exist for a reason. And so, but I'd say go back and do it. My wife and I, she finally season 7 got sick of hearing like her coworkers talk about Thrones and everything.
Yep.
So after the first episode of season 7, we paused. I watched the whole thing with her in about 3.5 weeks. So yeah, I'd get into it. But anyways, the reason that
now that you said that it's a prequel, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with all the Marvel movies. I'm going to wait till this House of the Dragon is done, and then I'm going to watch House of the Dragon first, and then Game of Thrones, because I watched all the Marvel movies not in release order, but in chronological story order.
That actually would be kind of
because that's the way I like to do things. I like to follow this. I have a hard time because I have ADHD, and all this other things. I have a hard time jumping timelines in stories. That's fair. So I prefer to let all the pieces on the table and then watch it chronological.
And knowing what I know, that's actually kind of interesting because I think it's an interesting approach, and you're probably actually going to get a different viewing experience because
I think I would.
Game of Thrones, the series, was based on a book, Song of Fire and Ice, but that only took us through the first 4 or 5 seasons of Game of Thrones, and then they had to create the last few seasons. The original author was not involved in the creation of those final few seasons. The original author was involved in the creation of House of the Dragon. So you would get a different experience than I did. What does this have to do with the PGA and Live Tour? That's what we're talking about here.
Tie it up pretty for us here. Tie it up pretty.
Well,
you got this.
Well, this is what it feels like, and this is what it looks like. I mean, when we find out now that Phil wasn't shooting from the hip, he had some inside scuttlebutt. Tiger and Rory have been working on this deal for 2 years. The PGA Tour has been planning something for 3 years. It could have all been contingencies. I mean, they could have been saying, yeah, we're quote unquote working on this. And if anything ever comes down that forces us, then we'll use it. Otherwise, we've got this good in the bank, or this, we've got this kind of bullet in our chamber to save. Something tells me that such a small world that everybody knows everybody talks. And when you're talking about, there's only so many people with the kind of money that these people have. And as much as discretion is kind of, discretion is currency in that world, but word leaks, people want things to get out. And so to see where it was really kind of, for me, to see the partnership with Tiger and Rory and the gentleman, Mike, I can't remember his last name. Don't at me, Mike, but he's the former president. He's the former president of Golf Channel who started the Golf Pass thing with Rory. They've been working on this for a while, and I do think that it has more success because, as we pointed out at the beginning, what else are you bringing to the table besides a little white ball and a big checkbook? And that's going to be the difference maker in the end with Live and the PGA Tour.
Yeah. So we've managed to talk about all this and not even talk about exactly what Rory and Tiger were proposing.
You know why? No. Quick.
Okay, yeah. Tell me why.
Because we don't know. Don't get two things mixed up real quick. Now, there was a meeting last week, the big top dogs, and I love Rory's quotation, right? Every time we get in the room, there's an alpha, and it wasn't me. And I love that. I love that he said that because he's also, if you look at Tomorrow Golf. So they had that meeting. Those players drew up some suggestions for the tour. Like, well, this is what the tour can do. Now, Jay, look these over. That is not directly related to tomorrow's sports. That is just, hey, by the way, we're also launching this gigantic sports endeavor that's going to include, quote unquote, golf in stadiums. I was reading articles more.
It could mean so many things.
Right. Are they just going to pick stadium courses like TPC Sawgrass, or are they going to build new stadiums? Or it could be
literally setting up Top Golf in a football stadium. Like, it could be anything.
Because they're talking about introducing digital, digitizing the sport. So it's super exciting, and they're doing a good job of kind of not tipping their hand. But I think what you were about to go down was the suggestions that are headed to the commissioner's desk, which is stuff like, get this 18, get a handful of events that are going to get the best players together more often. In other words, create more majors without creating more majors.
Well, and they're basically saying, from what I read, like the months of January to March, which is the buildup of the season, which makes sense because these guys had the layoff typically from September through December. There's still PGA golf going on, but the big names typically are taking that time off. They might play here or there, but it's usually like that. Once the Hawaii swing starts in like that February time frame is typically when we start seeing. I mean, that's when Justin Thomas made his big name because he won pretty much every Hawaii event that first year. He hit it big. So if they can come up with a schedule that makes sense, that leads us right up to
that's what they're looking to do.
And now I'm blanking on the new freaking major schedule. What's the first major now? Is it still the Masters?
It's still the Masters.
So
they're trying to close the gap. They're trying to close the gap between the beginning of the year and the players in the middle of March.
Exactly.
Then you've got the players, the Masters, the PGA, the U.S. Open, and then the Open.
I knew there was something
then you got
big
the FedEx
before the
Cup.
Masters. I was just blanking on the players. Thank you.
So I think they're going to take that 3 months at the beginning, and then they're going to say this is the buildup, and then it's going to keep going through the playoffs, and then we're going to have this fall finish. Like, they're going to do this thing where they're going to build it up, pause for the majors, fall finish, wash, rinse, repeat. So they're going to give the best players this like shoulder season to win a bunch of money, and then everybody else have at it during the majors.
Well, because it's been about 2 or 3 years with this new major schedule Correct.
I love
Where
it.
so
Yep.
it's but so do you think, since we now know that they've been talking about this for like 2 years about something, maybe not knowing specifics yet, but they've been talking about something about the beginning of the year, it seems like. Do you think they switched the major schedule in
Never,
preparation for it? Or do you think that was just
never.
happened to be coincidental?
I think they laid
Because it
down
makes sense now to have this build up, and then because we saw how exciting the summer was once the
that. Well, so
Masters
that's it.
started, it was boom, it was lightning, it was fantastic golf for the entire summer and into where we are now.
Well, that's for the layperson. For the diehards like me, it started in March with the players, and that's like that.
I
That's
agree.
so that's what. So to answer your question, they're not moving. They're not moving a damn thing with the majors. They're going to build
No,
around
I
it.
don't. I'm not asking if they're moving it now. I'm saying when they
Even
made
down
the
the road.
initial
No.
change to the major schedule 2-3 years ago, were they doing that
Mhm.
in preparation for this, for
Oh.
something coming? Because
Uh-huh.
they could, because it's from the sounds of it, Rory and Tiger have been talking for at least 2 years about something, maybe not specifics, but something in the beginning of the year. So did the
So
PGA originally change the major schedule 2 or 3 years ago, however many years ago it was, in preparation for something filling the beginning of the year and then leading into just a summer worth of straight nonstop golf?
So those of you hanging in there for Divots and Pivots After Dark, the answer to that question is yes. This was this. I think this was. We're talking about an entity like. All right, I work for my future former 9 to 5 is a little nonprofit, and we just went through a strategic planning process that is a 3 to 5 year lookout. You gotta think that these guys were looking 3 to 5 years ago. Now the Tiger Rory partnership, apparently that's about 2 or 3 years in the making. But what you're referencing in this schedule change, yes, that was intentional. Let's focus everything in the action. First of all, we know that in our current format, we can't compete with the NFL. So let's bring our season back closer to the summer.
Correct.
We also know that there ain't shit going on in January, February, March. Okay. So let's take the players and put it back over here. Let's move some things around because they used to have the PGA in August.
Well, and they
So,
capitalized with the Masters being right so close, and I think in the midst of March Madness, because it opens up the world of betting. So many things at the exact same time where, yes, everyone's focusing their betting on March Madness at that time, but you throw the Masters in there, and that just gets the ball rolling with golf when you already have extra people in the casinos or in the books.
Yeah, and now that PGA Tour has their agreement with PointsBet, and then you've got like DK, running contests every day. It is a playground for, and if you are betting, bet responsibly. Remember, do not bet anything you are not willing to lose. But to answer your question, yeah, they were trying to consolidate their product into these 5 months, knowing, because you think about it, in the worst case scenario, okay, we get everything consolidated into this 5 months, and we're still making the same revenue. Okay, 7 months off, cool. That's not 7 months off; it's 7 months to grow, and now they're growing. So yeah, they're going to do this thing where basically the tour itself is going to remain the static. I think they'll have a January to August FedEx Cup for the layperson. And then in the fall, you'll still have your wraparound. Actually, it's not January. It's September to September. You'll have the normal 11-month wraparound season. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to layer on top of that, like we've been talking about, this super series for the top 50 to quote unquote get together more often. And I think what they shied away for a while doing that because they didn't want to create this tour within a tour. But then all of a sudden, when another tour within the tour just popped up, they realized they had to create a tour within the tour. So instead, it is now, instead of seeing it as divisive or exclusive to say only the top 50 get this piece of the pie, now it's much more of like, I need to bust my ass so I can be qualifying. They're just creating more layers, which is more opportunity. It's more players. People would argue against that. People would argue and say, or they're trying to quote unquote use more in this. No, golf is, these people are not working, and I'm not trying to, as a matter of fact, Tiger would probably sit next to me and agree with me, and same with Jack Nicklaus. And those are big shoes to kind of say out there and say, I'm speaking for these people. They're not curing cancer. This is what they do is a luxury. It's a luxury profession. Doesn't mean it's not hard. Doesn't mean it's not hard work. Doesn't mean it doesn't take dedication. But at the end of the day,
but it's not needed in the world, and it's something that these guys are still blessed to be able to do because it's something they love,
right? And
it's something that's a hobby for most people.
Which is why Barbara and Jack have built how many freaking hospitals, and the Tiger Woods Foundation and Jordan Spieth. You talk to any of these guys, any of them, and when they win those first big checks, yes, for tax reasons, but also they set up foundations immediately, boom, like that, because they know that they can do more with their money. And again, it's smart with the tax purposes, but they can do more with their money, and they help it grow, and it's good for their brand. I hate to say it, but people, Mother Teresa wasn't even the most, like nobody's altruistic through and through. There's always some sort of secondary, kind of driver there. And so if you can find a pure and good end that you're going for, and it generates, and then you keep using that. I'm not trying to shame people out of the live and into the PGA Tour, but what we've been talking about this whole time are what are the differentiators? What's the thing that separates? And it is the externals. I mean, listen, Liv's going to be down the street, may or may not make it out there. And the reason that I don't give a rat's rear or whether or not make out there is because they're not playing for much. It's a bunch of super talented golfers playing for more money than I'll ever play for. I don't care.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to pay to go out there.
No.
All right. I'm not going to pay to go out there. But if I get the chance to go out there and cover it as a media personality, I'm viewing.
We got to get our paperwork in.
I'm thankful that the live. Oh, it's in. We're just waiting.
You're a gem. You're a gem.
Thank you. I included you. But if we get the chance to go out there,
love to,
and cover it as media personalities. Look, I'm thankful for the live to give us that opportunity because I view that as a step in what I want to be a career. And that's the way I'm viewing it. But look, I'm not going to spend money to go out there and see it because yet. But right now I'm not. Mm-hmm. It's sure there's names out there. But like you said, I watch golf for the moments. Mm-hmm. And that's what golf is about for me. And look, for all of us that go out there and shoot 120 through 18, we play golf for the moments, for that one moment that we strike the ball good out of the rough and we put it on the green, for that one moment that we accidentally cut it around a tree and hit it in the fairway. Like, we play golf, we watch golf, we live golf for moments. And that's why I'm going to always watch the PGA. The PGA offers moments. The live does not offer moments.
Yeah, but if you work for the Live Tour and you're listening right now, if you're not printing up bumper stickers and shirts and coffee mugs and everything that says
"Live for the moment,"
come on.
I know. I just handed that to them, didn't I?
When you have live as you got to think that the
There's
puns
so
are
many
just rolling.
Things.
It's
There's
just
so many things you can do, and they're all cheesy as fuck.
Oh yeah, but I mean, let's go. So we've got Brendan Grace, Henrik Stenson, and somebody else has won events so far. Let's see, like who even knows who wins these things?
And you know what though? But that's the thing. With all the big names that are over there, the big names aren't winning. It's like, what the fuck's going on? Because you know why? Because the big names aren't playing like they give a fuck.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
so they're not going to live up to their own potential over there because they're over there thinking they're on vacation, making a ton of money to just shoot golf, to play golf and shoot around. Like, that's what they're doing. So they're not going to win those events. We're not going to. The crowd isn't going to see what they want to see.
You said it the best. They're shooting golf. They're not playing golf anymore. They're shooting golf.
I heard it as it came out of my mouth, and I was like, "Damn it!"
It should never. Like a phallus, it should never go back in your mouth. They are shooting golf for the rest of time. All right, let's see what he's been doing. Saudi International. All right, Live Golf London. Philip went 69, 75, 76 for plus 10. He came over to Portland and he went 75, 75, 76. So he's plus 10 there.
And how much money has he made?
And then in New Jersey, homeboy goes 75, 73, 71 for plus 6. He's 26 over. And he is making, I think, $50 million this year. So for
where's
anybody
the incentive to give a fuck?
Right. So to your point, if somebody said, "Hey, here's a free ticket to go walk around with Phil's group at the next live event," sure, I'm going.
Yeah,
but if they say, "Hey, you want to pay $250 to go?" No, not even close.
You want me to pay $250 to go sit in a tent where I can drink all my beer for free because that's what they're offering, and watch Chase Koepka win? Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't do it for me.
What is your beef with Chase Koepka? That's the third time.
I know. It's just like the most.
Do you have this
well-known unknown name that keeps? I have nothing against him. It's just the most well-known unknown name that keeps coming up to me when it comes to the live.
Are
And I
you?
like
Are you?
Hudson Swafford, so I don't want to shit on Hudson Swafford.
Oh, I love again. No, but never shut on. No, the analogy that you were making, which is, I mean, he wouldn't. I don't think any of them would fire that. Like, they admit they're not Rory and Tiger, which is why a lot of them are like, oh, I'm going to go take this deal because I'm not Rory, I'm not Tiger. My playing and everything's not going to make me $600-700 million, but they're going to offer me 50. So again, get back to that side. I totally get it. But back to you and you hating on Chase Koepka. Is it a thing about guys named Chase? Is it a thing about, or is
my co-host on the Belly Up Fantasy Live show is Chase, one of my co-hosts. So nothing
so
Chase.
we're okay with Chase.
One of my daughter's best friend's name is Chase, and Chase is on the case. Paw Patrol. I'm a father. Right? Chase is a great guy.
I'm not into Paw Patrol yet. We're still on Bluey. She doesn't.
Dude, Bluey is the greatest. Look, sidebar. Bluey, the best show out there right now.
Fact,
and it's fantastic. It is, as a parent, it's great.
It's funny as shit.
Well, like it's funny and it's so real. Look, I tell this to everybody. My favorite episode is when the kids each have their ice cream and they're fighting over taking looks of each other's ice cream, and the ice creams melt and they're like, "Get us another ice cream." And the father's like, "Nah."
My wife just said this.
Yeah, and they're like, the father's like, "Nah," and they're like, "Why not? That's not fair." And he goes, "Actually, it's very fair. That's life. Sometimes life isn't fair." And I'm like, boom.
Mic drop, walk away.
Right there.
There's another episode, and it might be the same episode when they're talking about like, oh, there's an ice cream truck, and they finally get over there, and the thing is gone, and then the dad goes, "If it makes you feel any better, I wasn't going to buy you one anyway."
So real though, it's so good.
I think it's because they have Australian accents that we let them get away. Also, like it's like, yeah, that's how I talk to my kids. No,
exactly.
Sneaky good on the Bluey front. The soundtrack, the Bluey music slaps, hits hard.
It does slap.
And if you go to Spotify and you check out the Bluey soundtrack and you go to Keepy Uppy, great episode. But you go to
Keepy Uppy episode's fantastic.
It sounds like Jason Derulo's trumpets.
Well, you know the best part of that is when the mother's washing dishes and realizes the balloon is outside and the whole world is going to end if that balloon touches the grass. And she runs out there. She's diving like she's playing beach volleyball. She's ready to go and save it.
That's the best. I mean, let's be honest. That's the best part about having kids. Again, coming full circle, just got back from Meet the Teacher night, and I walk in the room, and there's this room of about half a dozen, about 10 adults standing in a semicircle talking to the teachers, and there were like 2-3 kids on the ground playing with blocks and trucks, and your boy went straight for the ground. Like I kicked my shoes off. I'm straight down there with the John Deere tractor and my daughter's best friend Noli, and I'm like, what you got there, buddy? I don't think I talked to an adult for 10 minutes. Seriously, dude. I mean, I'm just telling you. I'll tell you what. Actually, no, I was going to make a really bad joke about live golf.
You know what? You don't know what though? Maybe I think we have strayed very off course.
Are you kidding me? Bluey is integral to the Divots and Pivots show, because without the blue balls from Piper, I don't think you'd be breaking 100.
There you go. Div Piv, DIV, PIV. You get your 10% off every time you purchase. So go ahead.
All right. Listen. So look for the Piper Gold. Look for our Piper Gold 3 tomorrow. You're going to see some names out there. Don't be afraid to eat a little chalk this week, because remember, everybody out there.
And remember, your 20 to 25% ownership this week is actually middle of the road. It's all right. There's only 30 players. So don't be scared by the number. Don't be scared by the number.
If you don't do it already, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube.
Most importantly, subscribe on YouTube, and make sure you're public for your subscription, so that if we do another giveaway, we see you and we can pick you.
Yeah, don't be ashamed of your love for us. We appreciate it. No, but seriously, thank you so much for joining us this week. We had a ball. Andrew, back to you in the studio. I'm gonna sit over here and try to figure out who the hell I'm gonna base my lineup off this week.
Yeah, no, you crushed the ending again. Yes, we went a little over time here, but we just had so much fun tonight. So we will see you next week. We will break down what happened, and we will pivot into our off-season schedule here, which will be the same schedule, I should say, but we're not going anywhere. We're still going to bring you some weekly content. We're going to, like I said, before you get on at the top of the show, we're going to try to play some golf this fall. We're going to bring some random content. And we're
we got open court cases. We got college football. We got the fall swing. We got the Corn Ferry.
We got a lot of things. There's a reason why this show is called Divots and Pivots, because for the off season, we are going to pivot, and we are not going anywhere. We are here for you. We love you guys. Thank you for following us. Thank you for subscribing. At Real Mr. Mallet, at This Buds For You, at Divots and Pivots. We will, as always, see you next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock.